Just talk about how you visualize, you know,
YouTube.
YouTube being that outlet to build and grow.
In 2003, taking a step back, my dad had a local liquor store. He lived his American dream, had nothing, saved every dollar. I already told you my family didn't buy anything, so we could save. And then eventually my dad bought a small liquor store in Springfield, New Jersey. Immigrant life, you know, I was 14. I started working there, stocking shelves, the shit you see at the gas stations, like immigrant shit. Built a nice business for himself, got to live, support our family with that. I came in and I knew, like, I like talking to athletes because I love sports so much, but I wasn't gifted physically that way. But mentally, I was gifted that way.
Yes.
And I knew, and when I say I knew at 14, 15, and this is before, you're in the same general age group as me, you know this. Businessmen weren't cool like that. That wasn't a cultural thing. Rappers, athletes, but being a businessman, that'd be like fine, but it wasn't like cool like it is now.
Yes.
But I knew that I was gonna be world class at business at that age. I knew it. And I grew up real immigrant. What I mean by that is, immigrant kids really understand this more than hood kids. Immigrant kids understand you do it for your family. It's not even about you. So I grew up where I was like, my mom's the best of all time. She's just done so right by me. My father's worked his face off. I haven't even seen him like that. Bro, my father and I slept in the same house every night for the first 14 years of my life. I got 6 to 10 memories of him from 0 to 14. He woke up and left for work before I woke up, and he came home from work after I went to sleep 7 days a week, 7. So I had this crazy guilt and gratitude that I wanted to do right by them. So I decided, I remember calling my mom crying when I was 18. I was a grown boy, being like, Mom, I know that I'm destined for big shit, but first I'm gonna really build this business for Dad. Like I was like, I'm just gonna give up my 20s and build this business because I think I can, and I wanna give back to my family. So that's what I did. And in 1997, I launched one of the first e-commerce wine businesses in America, winelibrary.com. The internet was, that'd be like me telling you all, let's build AI robots and have them sell on Mars right now. That's how crazy the internet was in 96, 7, because it hadn't existed yet.
Yes.
And so like people were just like, what is that even? I did that from 1998 to 2003. I ran the business. In those 5 years, the business went from $3 million a year to $45 million a year. Wow. Completely changed my parents' life. I bought my car at 16. I bought it at a garage sale with my money for $580. Wow. That is the first car I had.
That's crazy.
My brother's 11 years younger than me. He got a brand new Lexus on his 17th birthday. That's how much our life changed in that decade. In 2003, I'm cooking, and I'm like really building. And I go to my computer guy, as I called him. He was a developer. I go, yo, I want to make videos and put them on the internet. How do I do that? He's like, we have to host them, this and that. So he did the work. He came into my office like a day later. He's like, here's how much it would cost. I don't want to make this up because I want to keep it real, but I'll give you what it felt like. He said some shit like, if an hour is watched on our website, it's going to cost us $10,000 to host those videos. It was something I could not afford no matter what. Yeah. So that was it. It just got put on the side. I want to give him his flowers. His name's Eric Kastner with a K. He was my lead developer. 2 years later, I'm working on some. We sat closer than you and I are sitting. That's how small the office. Closer than you and I are sitting right now. We sat. He taps me. He goes, check out this site. It was YouTube. I go on it. I'm like, what is this? He goes, you remember the video thing? Yeah. I was like, yeah. He goes, on this site, we can upload it and we can host it on the website and it'll cost free. They're taking on the costs. I'm like, bet. The next day, I call my brother. I'm like, this thing's gonna be crazy. He's a freshman in college. I'm like, you need to start a video show about the Jets. So he started, this is a fun fact, Stefan, you might not even know this. My brother AJ was actually the first vlogger. He did like 7 or 8 episodes of Jets TV.
Wow.
He did some videos.
Okay.
But it's not what
but you know.
Yeah, respect. But he didn't want to be about that world. He was more into like the business side. So he was done pretty quick. And I kept looking at YouTube. It was getting bigger, but it was all pirated in its first year. It was like South Park clips, Family Guy clips. Nobody was making original videos.
Yeah.
Then there was this guy named Zay Frank, Z-E space Frank. He was making videos. There was another show called Rocket Boom. I was like, there's something, this is gonna be something. So on February 21st, 2006, less than 9 months after,
2006.
less than 9 months after YouTube came out, I made my first video of Wine Library TV, changed the course of my career.
Wow. Wow.
I
That's crazy.
knew, I wrote a book a couple years later called Crush It, my first book.
Yes.
If you were to read it today, it's crazy. I wrote that book in 2008, it came out in 2009. That book's 16 years old. Basically, I completely predicted content creators, influencers, making money on the internet. And at the time it came out, it did extremely well, but critics panned it for being not realistic. One news outlet said, this guy's such a snake oil salesman. He's trying to tell you that people are gonna make $100,000 a year on YouTube. LOL, LOL. It's
Who
crazy.
said that?
It's crazy.
Where you at now?
And so, yeah, YouTube video. I always knew that video was gonna win. Video always wins, and I knew it would just be a matter of time before it was real on the internet. Back in the early 2000s, and YouTube came.
So as you go from wine media to venture capital and different things like that, like what's the bridge? Like what was the bridge there?
The bridge was that actual moment. 9 months later, or within that year, YouTube sells for $2 billion.
Oh.
$2 billion in 2007.
So 9 months after you posted your first video?
Yeah, about a year later, I don't want to get the timing wrong, somewhere quick.
Okay.
I think it was the next year, YouTube sells to Google for $2.1 billion. Again, I want the kids that are listening right now to understand, $2.1 billion in 07,
God damn.
I would argue would be like a $100 billion, maybe even $500 billion deal today. Numbers were different. We didn't print all that money during COVID. The world was different. Everyone shook. I read an article in the Wall Street Journal, and in there, it's the first time I'd ever seen the term. It was writing the article of YouTube, this incredible exit, and then it said, angel investor Ron Conway is set to make XYZ amount of money on his $100,000, or I don't remember the number, $50,000 angel investment. I was like, what's an angel
Yeah, I was
investment?
just going to ask what the
So
fuck
I
is
went
that?
to Google.
Okay.
I typed in angel investment, I read it. And I remember because it was one of those moments that you'll always remember in your life. I remember I had the big ass computer screen and I'm reading it. And you know how you can like see your reflection in your screen with the right lighting? I remember reading it. And then I looked in the screen and looked at myself and I said, you're gonna be an angel investor. And I promised myself, because at that point, when YouTube sold like that, I was like, man, I got some sort of gift and I'm not making paper on it. I was right about email. I was right about the web. I was right about Google AdWords. And now I'm right about YouTube. I'm good at seeing. I said, I'm gonna promise myself, the next time I feel that, I'm gonna angel invest, because I had a little bit of savings. About 6 months later, I had that feeling. I saw a new startup and I was like, this is it. And I wrote my first angel check, and that was Twitter.
So just for the people at home, angel investors
Is when you're investing early, you're the angels. You're basically the first money's in before there's institutional venture capital money. You're the $50,000 and $100,000 smaller checks just to get someone off the ground. Later, they'll go for a Series A, a venture capital round.
Okay. So a question.
It's high. I mean, listen, Facebook, Twitter.
Yes.
I really, really won. There was others who, Uber, I really lost and really won. Snapchat, there was a lot of wins, but 98% were losses. Like, don't get excited about angel investing if you don't have paper like that.
Wow.
Like 98% are losses.
I don't think people understand that.
That's why do you think I'm taking this moment to break it down?
I don't think people understood that part of it.
You know what I mean? Like,
I didn't get that part of it. I'm happy you told them that.
The reason it works is when you hit, you hit. When you're making 3,000 times your investment back,
Yes.
you can lose a lot. So, but it is, I wouldn't call it gambling. I would call it extremely high risk investing. My last point on this, and we'll bounce, I still do angel investing, but now I only invest if I like both the jockey and the horse.
Oh.
I used to do it if I liked the horse. The horse I
Okay.
call the idea.
Okay.
If I liked the idea back in 06, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, probably into 13, I would invest.
Okay.
The mistake I was making was I didn't realize, I would look at something and be like, oh, I know what to do with this. I'll build it big. But when you're putting money and you're not in control, now I gotta like the jockey too. I need to like her or him. I'm like, does she have the stomach for it?
Yes.
Now I'm analyzing the person because I got caught on all those Harvard kids. All those Ivy League kids came
point.
with good ideas, but they got fed. They got to Harvard because grandpa made a donation. They got to Harvard because they're a great student, but being a great student doesn't mean you're a great entrepreneur. So I had to learn those lessons in my 30s and 40s.
Great point. Great point. I asked about the Uber because it was like, because I do my research. So obviously I do my research when you came on. It's conflicting stories. You lost, you won. Like
I lost. It's not conflicting. I lost and won. In my first book I just mentioned, Crush It. It's your first book. You're acknowledging the most important people in your life in the first page. The only people I acknowledge is my family and then one random ass dude, Travis Kalanick, who was the co-founder and CEO of Uber. Travis was in between companies when I wrote Crush It, and I sent him an early copy, and he really helped me with it because he was just chilling. He actually, Garrett Camp, the founder of a company called Stumble Upon, is actually the gentleman that came up with the idea of Uber. It was originally called Uber Cab. I was actually in the room in Paris when he literally pitched the idea for the first time.
Wow.
Garrett was involved. They were looking for a CEO. It was a side project. This is real talk. Yep. Two entrepreneurs that already made it, had an idea. They went out and found a third guy, Ryan Graves, a hustler kid, to run it because it was a side project because they were doing other shit. It started off real strong in San Francisco. Travis came in and decided to be the CEO because he saw it was going to be big. He asked me to invest. You know why I love this sell so much?
Why?
Because it confirms one of my favorite sayings in life. Scared money don't make money.
Ooh, they say that everywhere. They say that in the business offices with the CEOs and in the hood at the dice game.
Bro.
They say that everywhere.
Bro, this moment is my watershed Statue of Liberty in a career that spans 30, 40 years if you count my kid hustle. The amount of times I played Scare Money was almost zero because I came from nothing, so I was never scared to go back.
I agree. I know that mentality.
But I bought my first big boy apartment in New York, and I had no liquid. I just bought it. I was gonna have my second child, and I had no paper. I had a little bit, that immigrant little bit, like gotta have 100,000 in cash somewhere.
Got a little stash. Got a little stash.
I was not with paper. So when Travis came and said, I want you to invest in Uber, I was like, I'm gonna have to pass. To his credit, which is why I love him so much, he came back, because we were boys. He came back 3, 4, 5 weeks later. He's like, bro, I was in San Francisco for a talk. I was in that grassy knoll. Every time I pass it by, I'm like, that spot. He's like, please be in. I was like, I just can't. I said no twice. If I had written the normal $50,000 check that I was writing back then, $25.50, you're talking about 3, 4, 5, 600 million. Now, so I pass. About a year and a half later, or a year later, they were in their next Series A. Like, instead of, I would have gotten in at like a 4 or 8, I don't remember the number, under $10 million valuation. About a year and a half later, I did invest. It might have been at 100 million or 80 million or 120 million. And I did well. I mean, I made millions and millions of dollars when it went IPO on a $100,000 investment. But, yeah, I mean, like, I'm grateful that I have a career that I can sit and talk about moments where I passed on it twice that would have resulted in, $500 million in paper.
Lord have mercy.
And to me, like, on the other side, looking at all your reactions, I've been telling the story for a decade. I know how people react. I react too, but, it's like, this as an athlete. When you're in the arena, it's just next play.
Yes.
It's just like, you can hear the crowd booing.
Yes.
You know, you can hear the announcers' takes, you can see the hot takes on, you know, on the shows and the radio, but like, what am I gonna do? Cry?
I tell people
I'm
all
still
the time,
working. Like,
can't miss what I never had.
And in a weird way, and I think people that get it will really get it on the other side of this podcast, I'm happy it didn't happen. Not because I would have been any less hungry. It would have changed the complete foundation of my life.
Great point.
And I think in the butterfly effect, I'm like, not to make me feel better, but because of how I live, I'm like, okay, that would have happened, but then this would have happened, I'm in a world where I sit here today healthy and happy, I'm like, who knows? I might have had to go to Tokyo for a business meeting because of that, and maybe I wasn't paying attention crossing the street and got hit by a car. Like,
Yeah.
I think for people to cry about spilled milk if they're in a decent spot is crazy, because every little subtle decision changes the outcome of your life. And so, yeah, it's a super L. I love it because it's on a thesis I believe in. You know, and so I like losing
Yes.
on some truth, you know?
Yeah.
And that's that. It's a L.
Nah, I'm with you. I can't miss what I never had. That's how I don't miss.
part.
If I never had it, it wasn't mine. I never
part.
had it, so I can't
That
miss
part.
it.
Here is a dirty little secret that insurance industry may want to keep under wraps. Insurance companies profit by holding on to your money for as long as possible. So after an accident, they might do whatever they can to delay or deny your claim. This way, they can keep those profits growing. Morgan & Morgan fights hard against these corporations to fight to make sure you get every dollar you deserve. When in court, the insurance companies want juries to think that at-fault driver is the one paying the verdict amount. Meanwhile, it's really the insurance companies who are covering the cost. When Morgan & Morgan takes on a case, they're almost always going after the big insurance companies and not the individuals at fault. Morgan & Morgan fights hard for their clients, and these corporations know that. A recent client in Pennsylvania just received $29 million. That's $29 million. Insurer's best offer was $500,000. Another recent client in Florida received $20 million. Last offer, $0. There's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury firm. Hiring the wrong firm can be disastrous. Hiring the right firm could substantially increase your settlement. With Morgan & Morgan, it's easy to get started, and their fee is free unless they win. Just visit forthepeople.com/OGs or dial #law 529. That's forthepeople.com/OGs or dial #law 529. This, my friends, is a paid advertisement. Basketball fans, it's win or go home time. The NBA Conference Championships are here, and the intensity is off the charts. Every possession matters, and there's still time to get in on the action with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. Here's the deal. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll score $300 in bonus bets. That's right. Pick your side, place your bet, and get ready to cash in. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up using code OGs. The crown is yours. Stay in on the action and use your $300 in bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. If sports betting is not available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Pick 6 and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code OGs and bet just $5 on any wager and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's promo code OGs only at DraftKings Sportsbook.